So, well, first of all, good day, everyone, and good morning to some of you. As Michael said, I'm Luis Sanchez. I'm part of the Sigma Medicine Stat Support team at Coventry University. And well, my session is titled Vibe Coding, Turning Your Stats Expertise into Interactive Web Apps. And well, it's going to be a bit different. And basically, we're stepping into the world of web interactivity. And fortunately, there's no coding required. But before getting into the technical details, this new way of interacting with AI is very exciting, and you will see later in the presentation. But as an example, at the importance of this topic, so let me show you that this article from the BBC, in basically Collins Dictionary named Vibe Coding Word of the Year. So it's something that lots of you will start seeing in not just in the news, but in the academic circles or in the technical circles, because, well, everything seems to be evolving into that direction, which is quite exciting, to be honest. And obviously, from my understanding, Talmo is all about transforming teaching through open modern methods, and vibe coding fits perfectly into that vision. But what is vibe coding? So let's go back to the presentation. And let me start saying that at its core, vibe coding is the combination of AI plus your vision as educator. So no coding is needed. Let me emphasize that. You just describe the vibe. And to make this work, we'll need to focus on a few key elements, particularly, well, precision in how we describe this, the context as well, defining AI roles. So you need to assign a role to the AI for this to work in a better way. Setting clear goals with basically what you want to do with this code. And of course, imagination, which is quite important for this. Basically, think of it like describing a recipe to a chef. So you tell the AI what you want, and it cooks the code for you. So instead of wrestling with syntax, you focus on designing and interactivity. And for example, as Andrej Karpathy um, calls this, well, he calls this forgetting code exists. Basically, it's about lowering barriers, in this case, for educators, for them to prototype these type of things relatively quickly. Obviously, there might be some instances where you encounter problems, but I'll show you in a live demo how you can solve some of them. And you can complement this with this when then prompts, or just ask the AI directly to, as I mentioned, to fix any section or element in your HTML interactive game or web page that isn't working right. But one of the things that it's quite important in this is why interactivity transforms teaching. Well, and why focus on interactivity, especially in statistics? Well, because interactive applications have the power to turn complicated insights into dynamic, engaging experiences. Studies like one from Song and Kai in 2024 have shown that students using a gamified mobile app showed statistically significant gains in critical thinking in just 1 month. So gamified elements like progress tracking and collaboration seem to increase student persistence, effort, and their emotional investment in the learning process. So imagine students adjusting a slider and instantly, for example, seeing how a confidence interval changes. So basically, that's real-time learning, and we are trying to implement this through the use of AI. So basically, it's an opportunity to turn abstract formulas into visual experiences. And I also would like to mention something about accessible and engaging learning, because this type of materials like mini games or interactive infographics offer students a low pressure, high visual way to engage with statistics. This is because many learners experience statistics anxiety, and environments that allow them to test ideas without consequences can support confidence and sustain engagement. And for example, these activities also break concepts into small, manageable steps, which helps reduce the cognitive load that often comes with symbolic or text heavy explanation. So basically, students can focus on one idea at a time rather than processing everything at once. And there are some studies on gamification, sorry, that show that immediate feedback and clear sense of progression can improve students' attitudes toward statistics and increase participation. And since mini games are short and easy to replay, well, they align well with microlearning, basically by giving students quick opportunities to revisit a concept until it feels more familiar. But you might ask yourselves, what tools do we need? Well, it's simple, but let's make it practical. So first, obviously, the engines of this, the LLMs, like ChatGPT, Gemini, or Claude. These are what turn your natural language into a working code. The next step, we have the core part of this vibe coding technique, which basically the workflow steps. So basically, as I briefly mentioned before, we need to write clear prompts describing layout, interactivity, aesthetics. The other thing is you need to request the AI to create self-contained HTML files, and I'll talk about a bit more why HTML files. But also, you need or you have the opportunity in some of these LLMs gives you the opportunity to live preview your web game or web page before you even create a file. So you also need something called, for example, Canvas. This is available for Gemini and GPT. So this Canvas is not the one probably most of you have used. So this Canvas is just a preview window that is now part of Gemini and ChatGPT. And as I mentioned, you might ask, why HTML? Well, because it's portable, works offline, so even, and can be hosted anywhere without complex folder structures. And finally, to share this with your students, you have several options, particularly in my own experience at Coventry University, sharing them through GitHub pages is the simplest option, specifically because it's free and it's simple. So you can host them as web pages, or you can share the HTML file and executing it locally. Anyone can open it uh, just by double clicking on it like any other file. So that's one of the key advantages. And well, you can also add accessibility options, but well, basically, all that I said previously can be summarized into this 5-step prompt for vibe coding. I wouldn't call them rules, but let's call them principles. As I mentioned, you need to define your goal, you need to describe the layout on how this application or web app or interactive infographic will look like. You need to specify how this interactivity is presented to a user, and I'll show you with the live demo. And you also need to be quite specific about the aesthetic details. And one of the key things is try to request the LLM to generate a single self-contained HTML. And well, it's time for the live demo, which I think it will be more interested to see. So let me start using Gemini. So I'm using Gemini, although I have the Pro version, I'm using this fast option, which is equivalent to the free version. So even the free version has access to the basic stuff, including this canvas window, which is just a preview window. But obviously, if you have the Pro versions of Gemini and ChatGPT, well, that will give you more options. But in any case, well, let me start. Oh, sorry, I forgot to show you the code. Well, let me go back to the presentation for a moment. And, sorry. Yeah. So I want you to have a look on this. So I'm going to use this prompt. Obviously, you have it. I'll share with you the files and you will see it more in detail. But basically, the idea is to start defining the personality and general details. In this case, we are going to try to create an interactive quiz for students to challenge their knowledge on type 1 and type 2 errors. So you start defining the personality. In this case, you ask the AI to act as an expert web developer and a fun statistics educator. And these will make the difference from having a good product or a good result compared to if you just introduce very broad instructions. The other thing is there's another section for the general look and feel of your app. And also, as I mentioned, you define how this interactivity is presented to the user. So if you have buttons, for example, you need to describe, for example, when the user clicks on the correct answer, for example, in button 1, then turn that button green. So basically, you need to be very specific on the things that you're asking. But let's go back to the demo. So, and I'm just going to copy and paste the demo, and I'll show you how does it look in real time. So let me start with this. So one of the things is you need to be sure to activate the canvas option, because if not, you won't be able to basically, oh, it's not working. Okay, let me refresh my session. I think it's now working. Yeah, here it goes. So you need to activate canvas, which is the essential part of this, because, well, if you don't do that, you will have to basically generate the actual file, running it, see if it's doing what you need, and then go back and correct it. But in this way, you can edit in real time. So just gonna paste the prompt that you saw, and let's go with it. As you can see, the HTML code is behind this. So the AI is generating everything about that. And here goes the preview window which is basically it allows you to see this. So obviously this is a simple example, but as you can see, this is a gamified, very simple gamified quiz. You have your score, and you can start like trying yourself. So for example, let's say that I say that what type of error is committed in this situation. So for example, well, as a note, obviously, as you can see there, sometimes there are errors, like for example, instead of displaying actual symbols, you have these things, but we can correct them live, and I can show you how. But for example, let's say that I say that the right answer is this one. So if I click here, well, I've got this little message that says that I'm correct. But as I mentioned, what if I want to correct this rendering of the math symbols? Well, I can ask the AI to correct that. So I can just like use something like try to fix the rendering, and you can run that. So basically, we are directing the AI. So basically, we are the architects of all of this. And the idea is that the AI will be our great assistant. And one of the things, or one of the useful things of this, is that you can create your own experiences, your own interactive experiences for your students to try. So in this moment is doing the corrections. Sometimes, well, it depending on the correction, but let's let it do its thing. So, well, sometimes it takes a while, so it depends on things. But if you see that it's taking longer, well, you can always refresh your session and start fresh. Very quickly, let me show you also how does it look in ChatGPT. For some of you that might have wondering if it's also possible in ChatGPT. Yeah, it's also possible. I'm using the 5.1 version. This is also the free version, but I also have access to the pro version. So if you click on the plus sign, you will also see that you have this canvas as well. So you can basically do the same as with Gemini. So just copy and paste your code, and very quickly, let me show you how does it look in ChatGPT. So let me see if we finish this. Okay. Seems to be a bit of a problem, but it's fine. So first, let's see how does it look in ChatGPT. So, okay, here it goes. So this is basically the same thing. You have your preview window. So when it finishes to generating the code, you can actually render the preview and see how does it look. Let's see if it's finishing. It's finishing, probably. Sometimes it takes more time. Sometimes it is simpler. But the idea of all of this is you can also build this as a cake with different layers. So you can start adding more and more things depending on how you see this thing to work or not for the goal of what you want to do with it. So it's relatively easy. Naturally, for this, well, obviously for this talk, I won't have the time to show you how to, for example, host this in GitHub as one of the options, but perhaps, for example, here at Coventry are thinking on betting for uh, a grant for a IMA. So perhaps in the future, and obviously I'm also going to share with you, if that's okay, a small link for a Microsoft form with your feedback that will help us as well. So for example, now it's finished, so I can click here, preview, and I can see. Okay, yeah, here it is. So again, the same question, but obviously, depending on the AI, it might look different, but you can change the aspect of it if you add more details to the prompt. So basically, it's about, for example, in this case, if I answer correctly, I have this lovely person dancing, and for example, I can add uh, more questions. Or for example, I want to add a try again button below, so I can just ask this AI precisely that, and it will do it for us. So let's see if this finishes. And again, the idea is to instruct this to build on top of what you have. So it's just asking the AI to add more elements step by step. And one of the ideas of this is, if you want to create a very complicated prompt at the beginning, perhaps you might find errors. So it's better to start building from few things and then adding more and more complexity to your code. And let's see if we have. Oh, yeah, you see it? Here is now our lovely try again button. So obviously, once you have this, as I mentioned, you can copy this code and generate an HTML file. That, I don't know if some of you know this, but once it's saved in your computer, if you just click on it, it will open up in your web browser. So even if you don't have a way to hosting it online right away, you can still share the file, and anyone can execute it in their computer and start playing around with it. Well, aside of this, I also can show you if there's time. So I don't know if
Yeah, there's literally, I think, about a minute, Lewis.
okay, okay, sorry.
No, no,
Well,
no, that's okay. But if you can do it in a minute, please, yeah, absolutely
yeah,
do.
of course, perfect. So let me show you very quickly a more complete example, and with that, I'll finish my presentation. So I'm hosting this on GitHub. So this is to teach Bayesian statistics, and you have 4 scenarios where you can basically start working on it. So this is a more complete thing. So, but my point is, you can make this as complete or as complicated as you want. And well, that will be all for me for now. Thanks to Talma for the time of that you gave me to present this. I guess the answers, sorry, the questions are going to be at the end, right?
Uh,
If I'm correct.
yeah, we'll follow them straight after this to make editing the video easier. But I think, Lewis, a quick round of applause, and I think thank you
Thank
to
you.
you for your contribution. And I think important to sort of see discussions around how we can use AI collaboratively within the classroom. Um, we've not got any questions posted, so that's maybe my opportunity to ask this. But um, what sort of feedback have you had from interact? Have you tried this with students, and what's the sort of feedback kind of coming through into that learning design?
Well, I've tried this in with one of lecturers here in Coventry. One of the obviously one of the things with this is that you need to know extremely well the topic that this game will be related to add the appropriate questions and possible things for the students to try. But in general terms, I've seen that people are interested in this because they attract the people that perhaps find these topics a bit boring, and it's just to give a to combine with a bit of fun. But I've seen positive things. Obviously, I haven't been able to try this in a more broader scenario, but that's one of the projects in the near future for this project, for this thing.
Brilliant. No, thank you, Lewis. And I think you mentioned that you've got sort of a feedback form. So if you want to pop that into the
Yes,
chat as well,
yes,
that will kind of go out to colleagues here.
absolutely. Thank you.
And I think, have you got some plans to sort of further workshops or activities on this topic?
Yes, so I'm planning to bid for the IMA grant for organizing a one-day workshop, and hopefully, if we get the grant, well, probably you will hear more about us and about this topic.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. And again, if colleagues have got feedback to support that and would like to know more, do drop that in because that can be added
yeah.
to this application as
Thank you.
well.
Yeah,
Yeah, forwards in the forms linked to in the chat. Can I propose we just literally, I think another round of applause for Lewis before we move
thank
on
you.
to Ailey.